When I was installing the shiplap, I didn't pay attention to how the nails were being set with my old nail gun. It's a 10 or 12-year-old nail gun. It wasn't quite setting the nails below the surface. By the time I caught it and I adjusted it, I realized that my nail gun's just too worn out. So as a result, probably half the nails need to be set just a little bit. I probably could spackle over it and keep moving, but I want to do it right. This is a place in the house that's going to be seen, so I'm probably going to spend the entire day setting nails. Cedar and Red are not back yet, so this is probably a good day to do this. The very first time that Cedar ever cooked for me, she made me a hamburger. I didn't have the heart to tell her that the hamburger she made for me was still cold on the inside. I ate it. I didn't say a word. She has come a long, long way since that time. One of my favorite things that she makes is her banana nut bread, and because she's out of town right now, that's what I had for breakfast. Shortly after getting married, we decided that she would be a stay-at-home mother, and I would do whatever I had to do to provide for our family. On our 1-year anniversary, she was in the hospital in labor with our oldest daughter, Sage. It also happened to be Father's Day. As I was in an apprenticeship program learning how to be a plumber, she was able to stay home and be a mother. A couple of years after this point, I was sent on a service call that happened to be at a daycare facility. It was a very large facility that consisted of 2 separate but very large rooms. One with kids that seemed to be under the age of 2, and the other side obviously with kids over the age of 2. The 2 most important factors in our off-grid life is power. You can hear the inverter running right now, and you can't hear it, but in that back corner is a water line that's tied into our water line that goes to the well, and you can see the sun is shining bright. When the sun is shining directly on the solar panels down at the shallow well, the pump runs. As long as there's a need for it. There is a shutoff switch up there. I can hear the pump running. I can hear the battery bank is fully charged. It's only 11:20 in the morning. We've got an excess of energy right now. We've got an excess of water. It's a great time to do laundry. Normally Cedar would handle all this stuff and I'd be outside working on something or working on something around the house. Because she's still out of town, myself, Callie, and Reed are going to load the washer and the dryer and see if we don't mix some colors up and see if we can get a few loads of laundry done today. Inverter just kicked off. Battery bank's 100%.
Hey Dad, have you ever done laundry before?
Yes, I have. Thank you very much. Have you ever done laundry before?
No.
Are you telling me your mom does this every single day? Just to keep you guys in clean clothes?
I have been in dirty clothes once.
Well, you should be in dirty clothes.
Because I couldn't find my jeans.
Because you couldn't find your jeans? Well, that's what I'm doing. I'm doing leather jeans. We got to get all this washed before your mom gets home.
She's coming back tomorrow.
She's coming back tomorrow. You know, one time my brothers put me in the dryer when I was a little bit smaller than you. They were going to turn it on and everything, and my mom caught him, probably saved my life. I was sent out there to work on a water heater that wasn't heating. The water heater happened to be in a utility closet on the side of the facility with the kids that were 2 years old and younger. I made my way through that room, bobbing and weaving around these kids, where I found the utility closet, diagnosed the problem, where I then found a manager to explain just what would have to be done to get the water heater working again. As I stood in this room, describing to the manager what in fact would have to be done to get the water heater working again, a beautiful little girl that seemed to be comparable in age to our oldest daughter crawled across the room, got a hold of my right pant leg, pulled herself up in the standing position, and while crying, she gestured with her hands for me to pick her up. Here, Finn. Hang on, leave it closed.
Rhett and I just got back from a fantastic trip to Denver. We were gone for 5 days, and I'm about to air some of our dirty laundry. In fact, it's like 5 days worth of dirty laundry. And as awesome and amazing as my husband is with heavy equipment and everything else that he gets done in the day, running the washing machine is not his area of expertise. So, thank goodness I'm home safe, and we'll...
Don't hate the player, hate the game.
We will get this done.
I haven't turned the camera on in a couple of days. I'm just about ready to start painting. I didn't feel like there was a reason to film some of the nitpicky stuff that, you know, the caulking and the filling nail holes, things like that. And on top of that, it feels good once in a while to leave the camera off. But what I did do yesterday is I finished up the door seals. I got the doors sitting properly on the thresholds, really made sure they were good to go instead of throwing those blankets against the doors like we've done for the last, 5 months. And I woke up this morning and it was 81 degrees inside here, and overnight last night we got down below 0. So there's a good indication of where a lot of our heat was going. And now that we've got those doors fixed, we probably won't use anywhere near as much firewood. So, without even thinking twice, I bent over and grabbed the little girl and started to pick her up when I realized this wasn't my child. I then looked at the manager, who also had a bit of an odd look on her face. I set this beautiful little girl back down. I then gave the manager some sort of an excuse for me to leave the room. I then went out to my truck and I sat down and I called my wife. I told Cedar that I would do whatever I had to do to keep her home with our children, because I was certain that there was nobody else out there that would love our children the way that she would. I can still see that little girl's face 20 years later. I'm certain that we've been blessed because of this decision. Now I understand that this is not always possible, but in our situation, Cedar had aspirations to be the best mother that she could possibly be. Over the last 21 plus years that we've been married, she has mastered the art of being a mother. When she's away from us for more than a day or two, it becomes very obvious just how important she is to our family. But she's having a good time with Rhett in Colorado. On top of taking care of the family while Cedar has been away, I'm trying to get everything prepped and ready for paint to finish up the room downstairs. Now at the end of this week, Rhett and I have an opportunity to go spend a couple of days with a young men's group from our church, riding snowmobiles in the back country on the Idaho-Wyoming border. As much as I'm looking forward to doing this, I know that cuts another day and a half off my week, so I'm working as hard and fast as I can to get things done. I would almost rather do anything else other than painting, but I also know that I've just got to buckle down and get this done. Like I've done everywhere else in the house, I'm putting a heavy coat of what's called PVA drywall primer down first. Once I've given the drywall primer about an hour to dry, I then started the cut-in work with the same paint that I've used everywhere else in the house. It's a very high quality satin, bright white paint that again we used everywhere else in the house. In the meantime, outside the weather's changing. It's slowly warming up and the snow's again slowly going away. Thank goodness. Last year, it seemed like the snow went away over a period of about 10 days. Because it's not going away as fast, the road's really not in that bad of condition except for one spot. There is one particular spot that will require some serious attention as soon as it gets dry enough to get a dump truck up here. While we're waiting for this to dry out, we just tolerate the mud. We're getting down to the tail end of our firewood that we have stacked on the back porch. We still have almost 2 cords of firewood stacked against the shop foundation, but I'm hoping we can limp by without using that. The house is staying plenty warm, but it's going to be close. One of the first things I'm going to do once the snow starts to melt is cut down a bunch of maple trees, hopefully before they fill up with too much sap. I'll get them on the ground, and throughout the summer we'll buck them up and pile up the firewood for next year. In the last few months, I've developed a habit around kombucha. If you don't know what it is, look it up. It's incredibly healthy, and it's also a great substitute for soda. I developed my love affair with soda when I was probably about 8 years old. After doing my chores for the week, I would always get my allowance on a Saturday, and I would take off for the corner store where I would buy a 50-cent Mountain Dew and get the rest of my allowance in quarters, then spend the rest of the afternoon playing Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat. Drinking soda for that long is obviously not healthy. I've learned to make kombucha, and I've learned to make it well, and there's virtually no sugar in it by the time it finishes its second fermentation. I drink at least 8 ounces a day, and I feel so much better drinking that than I do soda. On top of that, it costs very little once you get it going and get it figured out. We've tried a few different flavors, from peach to mango, and now we're trying a blueberry mix, and I think it's my favorite. Cedar has obviously gotten home by this point. I think she can see I'm getting burned out on the front room. She's jumping in, helping me every chance she can get with the paint. We are all more than ecstatic to have her home, especially her dog Bandit. Bandit would sit out in front on the biggest snow pile he could find, just waiting for her to show up. After 5 days, I think he was getting concerned that he was going to be stuck with me. Again, like I said last week, it would have been so much easier to leave the shiplap wall drywall. But now that we're getting down to the final paint, we love the way it looks. Rhett and I drove about an hour and a half with a group of guys from our church over to the Idaho-Wyoming border, which is also not far from the family ranch that my dad grew up on. We had snow machines for every one of us, and I haven't had this much fun in a long, long time. This was probably one of the best things that could have happened to us because it showed me the difference between an old, worn-out snow machine and the benefits of a newer snow machine that Rhett and I will be looking for over summer. Our friend's cabin is completely off-grid as well. It doesn't get used that regularly in the wintertime. But the only source of heat, ironically, is a wood-burning stove that's almost the same as our stove. Night before we got there, it was 28 below zero. We spent a good couple of hours just getting the cabins warmed up, enough to where they were comfortable. He had a pile of maple firewood that we were using. That kind of cold is a whole different kind of cold. As a crow flies, it may only be 40 miles away from Red Poppy Ranch, but it seemed like we were on a whole different side of the planet with those kind of temperatures. I had my work bibs, my work coat. Naturally, my face and my lips got windburned, but like I said, Rhett and I had a blast. Nobody got hurt. We got home safe. There's not a whole lot more we could have asked for. It was a wonderful time with a wonderful group of guys, and hopefully we do it again very soon. I was able to get multiple coats of the PVA primer all over the front room. And I was able to get about 75% of the room painted with the final coat, but I was just a little bit too worn out this week, so I'll finish it up first part of next week. There you go. The oldest of the boys that were there with us was 18. The youngest was about 14. Watching these kids ride snow machines that actually grew up riding snow machines helped me realize just how important they are when you live in cold country. Even though it was probably 15 below zero, I went out to the only source of water on the property. Gave the old well pumps a few pump, and sure enough, water showed up. Thank goodness we're not doing that over at Red Poppy Ranch.
Nobody can hit him.